Welcome to the Stephen Mansfield audio podcast.
I want to take some time on today's podcast to talk about the upcoming presidential election, and I'll probably be a little bit controversial and make some predictions that'll upset some folks, but let me talk about how I see the field laying out, and then let's talk about the faith of these people. I'm really fascinated, as everybody who knows anything about what I do professionally, with the faith side of leaders, and I think it's very, very interesting to see what's coming up. Let me start with Barack Obama. Obviously, he's going to be the candidate for president. He's just announced, in fact, this week, the week we're recording this, that's, as one commentator said, the worst guarded secret, the worst maintained secret in Washington, D.C., that Barack Obama was going to run for president. I am of the opinion that unless something changes, Barack Obama is going to win the presidency a second time. That is not because I'm a Democrat or I lean to the left. It is because that's how I see the field playing out. Barack Obama is going to be the beneficiary of a number of trends that will serve his presidency well. Even though as he sits here right now declaring his campaign for a second term, he's not very popular, even within his own party. His numbers are hovering only slightly above what the numbers for George W. Bush were. And there's great dissent within the Democrat Party, but the bottom line is they have no other candidate. They're not going to nominate anybody else. There's a small and rather misguided movement attempting to get Hillary Clinton to run. That is not going to happen. She's going to finish out her term as Secretary of State and then exit politics, probably for good, which is exactly what I would do if I were her. And so I think you're going to be dealing, obviously, with Barack Obama as the primary, the candidate, and I think also he's going to win. Let me tell you why I think he's going to win, and then let's talk about his faith and the faith of the primary people on the right who are going to be running. I think Barack Obama is going to win because the memories of Americans are relatively short. I think that even though the first 2 years of the Obama presidency, by all accounts, left and right, was not very impressive. The bottom line is the economy is improving. It's improving steadily, if somewhat slowly. And bear in mind that as I record this, it's April of 2011. You've got almost 18 months before the next presidential election. And so in the course of that 18 months, you're going to see the economy improve, maybe slowly, but still steadily. And I think all economic indicators and most leading economists are convinced that we're going to be out of the woods economically in 18 months. We are already withdrawing from Afghanistan. We will for sure be out of Iraq in terms of any troop drawdown. We'll still have troops on the ground, but that's intended long term. We've already exited from Libya. Things will calm down in the Middle East, I believe, over the next months. So by the time you get to a Democrat convention in the summer of 2012, I think that you're going to be seeing a country that's feeling a lot better about itself. Again, economy stabilized, out of the wars. Probably the left and the right will have hammered out some agreements in D.C. so far as budgets and so on. You won't have government shutdowns looming. I think, frankly, the right is going to serve President Obama well in the sense that once we make these cuts that are obviously coming in the current budget season, once the negotiated settlements between left and right, the White House and Congress are completed, you'll see the economy gain some sense of confidence. You'll see Wall Street increase and improve. So I think by the time you get to the summer of 2012, things are going to be looking good, and people are not going to remember why they were upset with Barack Obama. So I think all those trends are in his favor. I think the bigger issue, though, probably, or maybe as significant, is that on the right, you're going to have a very divided feel, and many people are going to feel like they're choosing between Tweedledum and Tweedledee. But let me back up for just a moment and talk about Barack Obama's faith before I leave his side of the spectrum. Barack Obama, by all accounts, and I've been at the White House recently talking to folks and interviewing people, and because I'm upgrading my book on the faith of Barack Obama for re-release, he is making a very deep spiritual journey, a very deep religious journey while he's in office. He's not unlike Lincoln in the sense that he came into office definitely a Christian in terms of what religion he identified with, but only having had Jeremiah Wright as his pastor, only having known Trinity United Church of Christ, only having known the Black liberation theology of that church. Once he got in office, people like Joshua Du Bois, people like Joel Hunter, Dr. Joel Hunter from a large church in Florida, people like T.D. Jakes began to be his pastors. And so he has begun to read Scripture, study theology, deepen his devotional life, and move more intently and fully into Christian truth and theology than ever before in his life. This is not just something that I'm concluding. Many are concluding this. And it was indicated, I think, recently at a national prayer breakfast when Barack Obama said for the first time publicly that he had taken Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. So it's my view that Barack Obama is making a journey towards, you can use the words conservative, I prefer not to, towards a more fully biblical Christianity while he's in office. He is by all accounts born again. He is by all accounts beginning to embrace Christian theology that he had not embraced as of the time he had even, written The Audacity of Hope and books like that, where he raised questions about Christian theology. So I think that's going to be more obvious. I think it's going to shape him profoundly. I think it's also what's causing him to change some of his policies in office, because that's the biggest criticism of the left, is that he has changed policies in office. Now, on the right, you're going to have a very interesting spiritual brew running for office, and I think that this is going to force religion to the forefront of this next election, though some will try to fight it. Probably first you have Mitt Romney. Well, obviously we all know that Mitt Romney is a Mormon. And Mormonism is gaining a lot of attention these days, largely because of Glenn Beck being one of the leading conservative voices, and not just one of the leading conservative voices, but one of the leading voices of faith in the country, given how he uses his airtime on Fox News. He has people like David Barton on there, who's one of the primary God and country kinds of commentators in our country. He regularly has pastors on there. He regularly talks about some of our historic revivals. He regularly talks about religion in our culture. He's talking more about religion as a motive factor in American history since its founding than even Pat Robertson has. And Pat Robertson used to be the primary voice of that cause. So I think you're going to see Mitt Romney riding that escalating interest in Mormonism and the appeal of Mormonism as kind of a God and country force in this country. In the last presidential election, at one point, 40% of the Republican base said they would not vote for a Mormon. But that was because the old religious right was still sort of hanging together, and there was a certain amount of bias against Mormons. But I think you'll see that dissolve because people are so desperate to beat Barack Obama that they would vote for a Mormon. So I think that'll be something that'll be front and center. And Mitt Romney, I think, is going to be there until the very end of the primaries. Second of all, you're going to have Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich is interesting because he has newly embraced his Roman Catholic faith. He used to be a Baptist. He's had a spiritual turnaround, and he's making speeches explaining that some of the things that had made him onerous to the traditional faith crowd, the faith and family crowd, like, for example, he had affairs, and he also divorced a couple of his wives, announcing his divorce to one of his wives while she was dying of cancer in her hospital bed. These things are being sort of atoned for, so to speak, in his life by his turn to Roman Catholicism. Then you've got the Pentecostal Sarah Palin, and by the way, the Pentecostal Michelle Bachmann. Both women come from Pentecostal backgrounds. I think, as many of you know, attended Oral Roberts University for my undergraduate work. That's where I first met Michelle Bachmann. Her name wasn't Bachmann then. And she was at the law school, O.W. Coburn School of Law there, which later became Regent Law School at Regent University. And so both of them have sort of charismatic Pentecostal backgrounds. And then you'll have Mr. Huckabee, who hasn't fully decided to run yet. I think it's obvious that he is, but he hasn't really announced himself. And he, of course, is a Baptist, but the problem with Huckabee for a lot of conservatives is that he is a bit left-leaning on some social issues. He was in his time as the governor of Arkansas, a bit soft on some social issues that conservatives care about. So the bottom line is you're going to have a very religiously diverse group on the right, but all of their various faiths will force to the forefront the issue of religion as they confront Barack Obama, who's going to be coming to his campaign with a new spiritual sense, a new maybe sense of calling, definitely a newfound biblical kind of faith. And I think it's going to force faith to the forefront of this campaign. But my prediction at this point is that Barack Obama is going to win, and he's going to win for reasons that are not completely a result of his own administration's doing. But it's going to be a wild ride.